Hey guys, happy Friday and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about something pretty serious and something that has affected my life for the most part. And that would be depression, as you can probably tell from the title. I dealt with depression for about 2.5 to 3 years. Right in the middle of high school, I had to go through one of the worst times of my life, in one of the worst places of my life. And it was really, really hard, and it's still hard to this day because it's affected my body. It's affected my views on life, that in a good way. It's affected so much, like friendships, relationships, so many things, and it's really hard. It's a hard thing to deal with, and so many people don't deal with it and don't know how to handle it. I didn't. So that's what I want to talk about today. It's probably going to be a two-part video because it's a big topic. Plus it's got like lots of side topics like self-harm or suicide or, whatever, suicidal thoughts. It's got side topics, and it's such a big serious thing, and it's so hard to deal with and talk about in one video to make it a short enough video. My experience with depression was absolutely awful. I was diagnosed with clinical depression. May of 2012, I was officially diagnosed after dealing with it for about a year and a half. In May 2011, I told my mom that I needed help because things were getting out of hand. I was like, I am going to do something stupid if I don't just man the fuck up and tell my mom. No word of a lie, to this day, that was the single most difficult thing that I've ever had to do. And I think that's where most people don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to tell people. They don't know how to tell their mom. They don't know how to ask for help because it is so hard. It took me a year and a half of dealing with it by myself. Finally admit that I need to change or I'm not going to be living anymore. The most cliche thing anyone could ever say, but I promise you it gets better. I promise. I am a living example. It gets so much better. I am the happiest person ever now. You can ask my boyfriend, you can ask my mom, like I am such a happy person compared to how I was 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. It's crazy. Like my depression got really, really, really bad at the end of 2011 going into 2012. That's when it was like at the peak of the worst it could have been. About half a year I dealt with it alone without telling anyone, and people started to find out through my Tumblr, because Tumblr is where I went to go vent and post all my feelings about, the day I had, or where I would go and talk to people when I couldn't sleep all night. I honestly met a lot of people on Tumblr through it, and like Tumblr actually really helped me because I got all these messages from a bunch of people telling me to keep pushing through, that I can deal with it, don't give up. Tumblr actually was a really big support system, and then people from school started to find me on there, and that's when people at my school started to find out. And once the word gets out around school, you kind of become like this freak. It's like you're the girl who's depressed, the girl who wants to kill themselves, the girl who's cutting her arm. It was such an unhappy place to be because I felt like I had no friends. I had no one to talk to because people knew but would never ask me how I was doing or anything like that. And what really helped me was I confided in someone who wasn't like one of my best friends but was a pretty good friend. And he was the first person that I told everything to. I told him, and I was like, I'm really depressed. I've been so depressed for the past couple months. Like, I'm hurting my own body. Like, I have no one to talk to. Nobody knows. And I think that was one of the smartest moves I could have done, because if I had something I needed to talk about, I could just go to him, and I knew he was there for me. He unfortunately graduated in 2011 though, so I had a whole another year of school by myself. And I was like, how am I supposed to get through? How am I supposed to wake up every morning, come to this place I hate, come to this place that makes me so unhappy, deal with all these fake people for 8 hours a day, and then go home to no friends, have no one to hang out with, just cry all night, cry myself to sleep, and not sleep, do it all over again the next day. It's such an exhausting thing because your mind is constantly just fighting with, you know, whatever your thoughts are. Such an inner battle in your head, and you don't know how to escape it, and it just, all of us, it takes over. And what once was like a happy mind when you were a kid, it's taken over by darkness. And I think so many people don't understand. People who haven't been there, they don't understand that it's an illness. It's a serious illness, actually. And you don't have control of your mind. You have this amount of sadness inside you, and you don't know how to get rid of it. And people don't understand that. They're like, a lot of people are like, oh, go do this. This is something you love, or go out to your favorite restaurant, go out with some friends, go do this, do that. It doesn't help. When you're in that bad of a state, it does not help. And so many people need to understand that when you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. You want to lay in your bed. You don't want to do anything. I know for me, I watched a lot of Sex and the City over and over because it was one thing that kept me kind of slightly sane. Not really, but kind of. But I didn't want to go out with friends. I didn't want to be the burden of the group. Half the time I left school after my first 2 classes were done, I'd leave and go home and go to bed. The second semester of my 12th year, it was getting to the point where I was so exhausted. I was so done with how I was feeling. I did not want to be on this earth anymore. You know, it gets to a point where you can't be here anymore. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be living. People don't understand. Unless you've been there, you don't understand why people want to kill themselves, why people think it's the only option. Coming out of it and being happy now, I can say it's definitely not the option. I know a couple people who have killed themselves, and it's heart-wrenching. But I also see where they're coming from because I've been in that state. They think no one's going to miss them. They think that it's the only answer. They think that no one cares. They think that no one would go to their funeral. All the funerals I went to were full. Like, so many people there. But when you're in that state, you don't think about that kind of thing. You just think it's the best option for you. And it's not a selfish thing. So many people say, oh, suicide's so selfish, you know, we're the ones that have to deal with it. They don't, they're gone. It's not selfish. It's 100% not a selfish thing. They honestly feel like for them and for everyone around them, it is the better option. And I know for me, when I was in that state, that I was like, my parents are going to be happier without me, you know, my friends, people at school, like nobody's going to even notice that I'm gone. Nobody. I was like, nobody is going to care. And how wrong I would have been, it hurts my heart to think that if I had gone through it, that the pain I would have put my mom through, the pain I would have put my parents through, siblings, you know, family, friends, whoever, like, there's always more people that care about you than you think. And, you know, even when I went through my breakup with my boyfriend in May for 4 days, I got an overwhelming amount of love and support. And when something like that happens, when something huge happens to you, you notice the love. But when you're depressed and you don't tell anyone, or you're hiding in the darkness, nobody knows, or if they do, you don't listen, and you don't see how loved you really are. So for people who don't understand, dealing with depression is overwhelming. You don't want to be here. You don't want to do anything. You know, my bed was my happy place. I had a boyfriend in grade 12, and he broke up with me because I was too depressed, and he knew going into the relationship that I had this mental illness, and he broke up with me. He said I was too depressed for him and he could not handle it. Now I realize that was like a blessing in disguise, because that night I told my mom, I was like, I need help, because I can safely say that if I didn't tell her that night, I would not be sitting here right now. I would not have my wonderful boyfriend that I have now. I would not have my 2 dogs. I would not have anything. Like, it's insane. I would not have conquered my fear of driving. I wouldn't have done anything. And realizing how little I would have accomplished with my life now is really, really upsetting. And it makes me just take a step back every day and think. Anyone who doesn't know what it's like, has never dealt with it, thinks people can just snap out of it. No, you're so wrong. It is the hardest thing that anyone has to deal with. They are literally on the edge of life or death. I think that's the scariest part, that death is in their hands. And I think that's the hardest part to understand, is why would anyone ever take their own life? And so many people would not understand that unless they've been there. Honestly, when you feel that deep into the darkness, it's such an appealing thing that you have control of where you go. To anyone who doesn't understand depression, you can't just snap out of it. It is seriously a mental illness. It is a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's so hard to understand, and it's so hard to explain unless you've really been there. But I promise you, nobody chooses to be depressed. Nobody wants to be in this situation. People don't do it to look cool or to be in a trend or whatever. It's honestly, truly a horrible, horrible thing that unfortunately people have to deal with. I unfortunately had to deal with it, but I am one of the lucky ones who could find help, who could talk to my mom about it. I got through it, but unfortunately there's a lot of people who don't get through it, and it breaks my heart because I know how they felt, and it makes me sad that they couldn't find a light at the end of the tunnel. So to anyone who is dealing with depression, I know what it's like. If you need someone to talk to, I'm always going to be here. Even if I'm not making videos every week like I said I was going to, I will be here for you. I'm on YouTube every day, so I still check my messages. But I promise you, you're not alone. You're not a freak for being in this situation. Someone will love you. Someone does love you. Your parents love you. You have a dog. Your dog loves you. Siblings love you. Your grandparents, your whole entire family loves you. Guaranteed a teacher will love you. Guarantee somebody loves you. And I know it's hard to see that when you feel like you're so alone, but somebody does. I really, really, really hope that you find what you're looking for in life and get through it, whether you find something that makes you happy and that you enjoy doing. Like maybe you want to talk to people but don't have anyone to talk to. Make a video, post it on YouTube. Somebody will watch it. Do that, and maybe you'll find that's your happiness. Maybe that's an answer for you. If you like drawing, why don't you start drawing? Maybe that will take you somewhere in life. There's gonna be something that will make everything not seem so bad if you keep up with it every day. If you know someone dealing with depression, honestly, be there for them. Show them you love them. Tell them you love them every day. Really, really be there for them. And then hopefully they'll start to see that more and more people really do care about them. I hope you guys liked this video. It wasn't really much. It wasn't really advice. It wasn't really my experience. It wasn't really anything. I just kind of wanted to talk about it because depression is such a huge part of my life that it's what mostly inspired me to start making YouTube videos, so that I could tell people they're not alone and let them hear my story and see where I am now and how I've come out of it. And so I'm obviously going to do like more videos on this topic, like, you know, being the social outsider, the suicidal thought, self-harm, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm probably gonna make separate videos talking about all that. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it or found it slightly helpful. If you do deal with depression, I promise you, you are not alone and it will get better. I know you're probably so tired of hearing that, but coming from me, I did deal with it for a very long time, not as long as some people, thankfully. I was almost at the end. I almost took my own life. And I'm so thankful I didn't now. Make sure you subscribe so you see my future videos. Make sure you watch some of my old videos to see what I'm all about. I have a few big weeks coming up, so I'm probably going to do some vlogging instead of more like sitting down videos because it's going to be fun. I'm not going to really be at home. I'm going away for 4 days for my birthday, so I'm probably going to hopefully maybe vlog that whole trip if my boyfriend's down for that. And yeah, so I'm really, really excited. It's going to be a little change on my channel and not so serious. And so I'm really, really looking forward to that. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I'm trying to post videos every Friday, but it's hard. It's summer. I'm busy. I'm working. I'm going to the beach. I got my license. So a bunch of stuff going on. Comment any suggestions of topics you'd like me to talk about down below, and I would love to try and talk about that for you if I have my own experience. Any questions you have, you can leave them down below. My links will be down below for social media. Make sure to check me out on there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys maybe next Friday. We'll see.